All right, what it do, 2K fans? Your boy JuKIng the Boss is back, and I finally found what they call the Kawhi Leonard build. All right, now, and I've been searching far and wide, long and high. Now, this build is supposedly a two-way slasher, and we're going to talk about the details of this build in just a moment. But this build, I like this build. I did play with this build, and I'd make some changes because I don't really look at this too much as the Kawhi Leonard build, but there's a lot of details that go into it. So first of all, for this build, I was trying to figure out whether I wanted to go speed and strength, because Kawhi doesn't really have a vertical. So I decided to go with just trying to keep my speed up as high as possible and then balancing it around. So I got well-rounded numbers. And then, of course, the first thing I had to do was make sure that my defense is looking good. Now, for this build, a lot of people will see this build and say, man, that three-point shot is low. And I don't care about that. Kawhi Leonard isn't the guy that just pulled threes like Steph. He'll pull it, but he ain't pulling it like that. Now, I would make some tweaks with this build. For real, I would make it a shooting and defense build. I still wouldn't max out three-pointer the way it's maxed out in here because Kawhi does finish inside pretty well. But of course, as you see, I went on and put my drive and dunk as high as I wanted it. I didn't really need to max it all the way out, but I went on and said, you know what, I'm gonna play around with it at first. So this build, the best thing about this build is that it can finish inside, it can finish a little bit outside, mid-range game is nice, and each build that I made and each build that I'm making, when I talk about the build, understand something, that the final form of this build isn't just like, oh, that's what it's gonna look like at the 99. No, I'm throwing boosts on these builds when the full game come out. And that's the thing I think a lot of people forget about, you know, that because I don't care if you playing on ProAM, you playing in JRC, or even if you're playing in the park, you're gonna have boosts. Why? Because everybody else got boosts. Now, I did mess with this build. I messed around and put his defensive rebounding up pretty well. Tweaked his offensive rebounding as well, mainly because Kawhi Leonard does grab boards. The board man gets paid, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, so board man also gets buckets. Now, I love this build, and it's one of those things that if you're still messing around with the demo, I say try this build out. Try this build out and understand that this ain't 2K19. You gotta use turbo well. You gotta use your burst of speed at the right time. And you look at this build, and this build's ball handling is technically gonna go down because I am gonna increase the wingspan to be more of Kawhi Leonard's wingspan. But I did like this build. Good pass accuracy, good playmaking, good ball handling. You know, great finishing ability. Great mid-range shooter for real, because like I said, I'm not looking at what this build can do right now. I'm looking at what I can do with this build right now on what is, some people are saying pro, and what I can do with this build down the line. Now Kawhi Leonard is really 230, but I said I'm gonna try it out at 225 just so that way I don't lose too much of my speed or acceleration, mainly because I want this guy to be the guy that can check anybody. But interior perimeter defender, finisher inside, close shot, driving layups, driving dunk high. And also you got to remember, in the demo we cannot set the the moves. We can't set the moves. So when you creating this build, man, go in knowing that you can't set this move. But after putting all this together, they call this a slasher. But Jimmy Butler seems to be on every small forward list. I kid you not. It's either Jimmy Butler or who the other. This is Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler I've seen more often than not. But this is what they consider a Kawhi Leonard build, so you already knew that I'm going to take this in the game and see how it works out. Now, I didn't show y'all the badges. That's up to you. Now, like I said, the similarities that they compare the builds to is always kind of wonky, especially with a small forward. Jimmy Butler's every build in this game. But when it came down to how this build performs, I think this build performed really well. Watch the move, take it right inside, move Steph right out the way, finish with a nice little fancy layup. They're going to show it again on replay. Now, for this build, the best thing about this build to me is that it's inside finishing ability. But I did think about something that I'm gonna change up when the game comes out. So I don't mind having this like two-way slasher kind of build, but I think I much prefer a build that can hit a little bit better from mid-range. But also remember, all these builds that you see, when you look at their stats, the stats be looking kind of bad, kind of wonky, kind of suspect at most, right? But when you're in the game, remember something, that in the demo, you can't change these animations and you can't add your own flair to it. So you can't even add some good basic dunks to it that you want to use. Once you start adding those dunks and you start being able to chain those dunks and move your character the way you want to, it's going to get a whole lot better for each of these builds, mainly because these builds As much as I enjoy some of the new nuances of the system, one of the biggest things you got to remember is that it's the stamina system and the motion system that's kind of really changing that. You sort of fancy finish inside. Now, what I mean by that is that the fact that holding turbo is something that will hurt you more often than it will help you. You find yourself in good situations where, if you use it right, you can blow by a person, finish inside, as you just saw. Now, for this build, like I said, the thing that I took into consideration when making this build is, if I'm gonna use this build, know that I'm going to use boosts. I'm going to, do the weekly drills that will allow me to get the +4, I think, in my physical stats, and then the boost that I add +10 in my other stats. And then when you think about the new news that they added that too, which is, badges like playing for a team with a badge like floor general, boost your offensive stats. Playing with a team with a badge what's that, defensive leadership, that's going to boost defensive stats for the rest of your team. So if, don't get me wrong, for most of my builds, defensive leadership will probably be one of my more primary badges. Offensive leadership is something that I would expect the point guard to have. If I'm playing MyCareer and the point guard doesn't have that, then I'm going to play for another team, because, my man, you're not playing point right. Okay, now for my builds, I'm going to have the defensive leadership badge on there, because most of my builds will have a good handle on playing defense. Now, another thing about this build is I love the fact that you see the putback right there. You see the funkiness of that putback. That putback was nasty. All right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, these builds really are pretty good, and they could be even better when you really get a chance to mess around with them. Right now in the demo, of course, the small forwards look like a weak build, but I'm still having more fun playing with the small forward builds that I'm mixing up and creating. I think the only thing that really hurts the build is that unless you do some really drastic changing around when it comes down to where you spend your attribute points, it really feels like you're not getting nothing unique. That's what I think the problem is. Like, every small forward build is a Jimmy Butler build or a Paul George build. And, this build right here felt at least unique, even though it didn't have a unique name. It still felt at least a little unique because I got a Kawhi Leonard build, but still Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler. Come on now. I'm not taking anything away from Jimmy Butler's ability to play defense, his ability to score, play the game. My thing is just I think it's the naming conventions. Think about the point guard names. Point guards get names like two-way slashing playmaker, two-way playmaker. And then you got on the wing, you got the two-way pass first wing. But I'm going to tell you exactly how to create that build. That build can be created using almost any setup, I think, except for the defense. You can create that build using a shooting setup. You can create that build using a playmaking setup. You literally just got to spend more points in playmaking than you got to in shooting. And that's bad. Okay, the fact that you can just figure that out that way, that's terrible. That's not a two-way pass first wing. It's just a wing that can pass the ball. You know what I'm saying? But that's not even the highlight skill. It's just the highest skill. So like I said, as you see the build, it did come off pretty well. You saw me hit a 3 to end the game. And the 3-pointer on this build is only 34. Now, granted, I know it's playing on pro, but that just shows you that you can make some tweaks here, make some tweaks there, make this build your own, make this build unique, and have fun with this build. Test around with different numbers in the small forward builds and watch you come up with something that you really, really might enjoy playing with. I'm hoping you all enjoyed the videos. I got more small forward builds coming out. This your boy JuKIng the Boss, and I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. I'm out.